The Architect of Silence by Chief B. Silas grew up in a world where the air was thick with the scent of hot asphalt and the constant hum of the city. To him, the sound of a distant siren wasn't an emergency, it was a lullaby. His body was a coiled spring, always ready for the next problem, the next bill, the next argument echoing through thin apartment walls. Survival wasn't a choice. It was his heartbeat. He moved through the streets of his neighborhood with shoulders hunched and eyes scanning for shadows, living in a constant state of not yet and never enough. One evening, tucked away in his small bedroom, Silas found a tattered book that spoke of a different way of being. It quoted an ancient proverb, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." The words felt like a cool breeze on a fevered brow. He realized that for 30 years, his heart had been thinking thoughts of scarcity and defense. He had been the architect of his own prison, building it brick by brick with fear. In that moment, he decided to try something different. He would try to imagine a version of himself who was at peace. He began to practice what he called the silence. Every morning before the city fully woke, Silas sat in his worn armchair and closed his eyes. He didn't pray for things. He prayed through feeling. In his imagination, he placed himself in a life where the tension in his jaw was gone. He felt the phantom sensation of soft grass beneath his feet and the warmth of a sun that didn't scorch. He whispered to himself, "I am secure. I am loved. I am at rest." But the shift was not easy. When he opened his eyes, his nervous system rebelled. The quiet felt like a trap. His heart would race, demanding the familiar adrenaline of crisis. It was as if his body were shouting, "Where is the danger? Why are we not running?" He had lived in the storm for so long that calm felt like a threat. He had to learn to sit with the discomfort of being okay, teaching his body and mind that peace was not a precursor to disaster. During one particularly difficult session, Silas went deeper into his imagination. In his mind's eye, he saw a younger version of himself, a small boy sitting alone on a worn porch step. The boy had the same eyes, but they were wide with fear. Silas sat beside him. "You don't have to keep watch anymore," the man told the boy gently. "I've got us now. We can put the weight down." They sat together in the theater of his mind, two versions of the same soul, finally agreeing to rest. From that day forward, Silas began guarding his inner conversation like a sacred garden. Whenever the old thoughts crept in, "I can't. I'm not enough. Nothing ever works for me," he pulled them out like weeds and planted something new. He spoke to himself as if he were already the man he dreamed of becoming. He walked to the grocery store not as someone struggling to survive, but as a man who was already abundant. His walk changed. His tone changed. Even his breathing seemed to match the rhythm of a different life. One afternoon, he sat on a bench beside a small community garden. An older woman named Mrs. Hattie, who had watched the neighborhood change for 70 years, studied him quietly. After a moment, she nodded. "You look different, Silas," she said, her voice calm and steady. Silas smiled. "Different how?" "You look like you stopped fighting a war that ended a long time ago." Silas felt something warm move through his chest. The change he had been nurturing in the quiet darkness of his room had finally begun to appear in the light of the world. As weeks passed, the alarm in his chest started to fade. Joy no longer triggered panic. Peace no longer felt suspicious. He practiced the feeling of the wish fulfilled until it became natural. He realized something powerful. He didn't have to wait for his life to change to feel better. He had to feel better first. The inner world was the mold. The outer world was the clay. And he was finally learning to shape it with steady hands. Slowly, the clay began to follow the mold. Opportunities appeared where there had once been dead ends. People responded to his calm with kindness instead of friction. But the real miracle wasn't the changes outside. The real miracle was that Silas no longer needed the outside world to prove anything to him. He was peace inside. And because he thought peace in his heart, he became peace. Months later, Silas walked through his old neighborhood one last time before moving to a small apartment near a park. The sirens still echoed through the streets, and the asphalt still shimmered in the heat. But the man walking through it had changed. He was no longer a coiled spring. He was the silence between the notes. Silas looked up at the sky and whispered a quiet, "Thank you," to the architect within. He was no longer trying to become. He simply was. And as he thought in his heart, so he remained, whole, free, and finally, home.